Check.
Check my shorts.
Checkity, check.
Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the Meet the Wild podcast. This is podcast number 2 on the Virginia Old Breed Outdoors trip. It's Saturday night. Boys are
We gotta
excited.
come up with a name for like this trip.
Something with acorns falling and hitting people.
Yeah.
What's that?
Something with acorns.
falling.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Chris is like, my head! I'm going down.
Why are you
Acorns
slurring your
falling or
speech?
does picking us off at like 40 yards out.
Dude, I don't get that. The deer here are crazy.
Yeah.
So the boys had a long day of hunting. Both of us, or all 4 of us, hunted in the morning, and then we did an evening/afternoon hunt as well. And we got plenty of stories to tell. Some good, some bad.
Who wants to go first?
Well, I guess we can start.
Chris wants to go first.
State your business here.
So,
Did you raise your hand?
so if you listen to the last podcast, we talked about where we were going to go
If you didn't, go back
Today.
and listen to it now.
Yep.
right now.
Welcome back.
Before you listen to this, so it makes sense.
But, you know, the spot that you guys scouted now 2 days ago, we went back in there. We went in there, and me and Garrett pulled up short of where you guys went, all the way down at the end of the road. Just looking on the map, finding a good spot. Something made sense based on what you guys saw at the end of the ridge system. Looking at the map and kind of trying to mirror that and match that. So me and Garrett dove off in.
Garrett and I.
Garrett and I.
I like this combo.
Dove on in and
Head first.
at first
Head first.
I said head first.
Not at first.
He's falling apart. This story is not going anywhere.
okay, so we get in and we had a spot that we picked out originally that we wanted to get to.
Wait, we're talking about you and I last night?
No, we're talking about me and Garrett this morning.
Copy.
And as we were approaching and getting into where we wanted to start hunting, we found a couple scrapes that were pretty fresh.
Which we've been kind of on the lookout for.
Yeah,
We haven't really been seeing a lot of.
yeah. I mean, it's still early October, right? So they're not like rutting hard, but the bucks are starting to move around. They should
Yeah.
be opening up scrapes,
Yeah.
starting to rub a little bit. Which we brought that up that we've seen one rub, like now. I mean,
Now we have 2 rubs.
yeah, two.
Too.
But we hadn't seen a whole lot of buck sign, and so we found these 2 scrapes, and with the wind that has been blowing and everything like that, there's leaves falling off the trees everywhere, and both these scrapes had no leaves in them.
Yeah.
So we were like,
the last few days-
that means
The
it's
last
been
few days, at least, like the wind has been, at least at some portion of the day, it's been ripping pretty good.
yeah.
And windy.
But so we thought that meant those scrapes were pretty active. So we decided to pick a tree and sit up on top of it, and we sat over one scrape and got all settled in and stuff. And an hour later, over Garrett's back shoulder, coming down the trail that we walked in, we see a big-bodied deer. Big-bodied. And then we saw the rack. And there was a lot of it.
It was a
Didn't
big
end.
rack.
It didn't end. The rack didn't end.
It didn't end.
But no, he's a big deer, and we're not really sure what happened. At the time that we saw him, he didn't come any closer to us, and it was about 40 yards out. But he was on our trail, and we know he didn't get our wind, but he probably got our ground scent, because he stopped and then boogied on out. And he didn't go hard.
He didn't blow.
And he didn't blow, but he went about 50, 60 yards and then stopped
And then just walked away.
and then just walked.
So I
out of
really
our
think it
lives.
was. I think the best theory is just ground scent.
Yeah.
He picked up our ground scent and then boogied on out. But he was. I mean, I didn't get a good look at his body because I was, literally like trying to like look over my shoulder at this thing and get the camera turned. And you know, I saw a deer moving, and I was like, oh, yeah, we got a deer. And I thought there was two in there, but then I was like, oh, there's antlers. Oh, they're big.
Oh, they're really big.
And Chris is looking like through, you know, the tree, you know, between the tree and me, because he's on the other side, you know. But I never got a look at like how many points were on him. I just know that he was tall, he was wide, and he was heavy, and I could see the body was, you know, a decent body. He got a good look at the body, and he says it looked like it was an 8. But yeah,
I will say from the deer that we have seen,
they've been big.
besides like fawns and the yearlings, like we've been seeing big deer.
Yeah, the does that
they're
we
healthy. They're
Yeah.
healthy.
The does that we saw tonight, they were
Huge. They were Donikers.
yeah, they're huge.
Yeah.
I mean,
Big body deer for sure around here.
They got big girls right here.
But I mean, that buck took off. We cried a little. I cried a little.
Hey, it happens.
It was
And
like, it was like no.
and
Chris,
then
you were shooting?
I was shooter. Yeah.
Was he punching the tree?
No,
No.
I
It
calmed
wasn't,
down.
it wasn't that bad.
We held hands and talked about it.
Yeah.
He hugged it out.
Yeah, we hugged it out. Like we looked me in the eyes, and we were good. After
Gotta make
that,
eye contact.
Yeah,
That's
Oh,
important.
is that what the key is?
yeah, you gotta make
that's
eye
key.
contact, and it's,
You got to make it true, like true. You know.
Yeah,
Like,
that makes sense.
Like, tell me about your
We
feelings.
should try
Chris.
that, Will.
Like, how do you
try that sometime.
how do you feel about the fact that that giant buck just ran out of your life? No, look me in the eye.
like every girl.
Tell me your feelings.
I'm uncomfortable.
Is it awkward? No. Yeah, it was
It was.
whatever.
It is what it is, right? And then an hour later, coming down the same trail, here comes a doe.
Were you shooting the doe?
Oh, I was gonna shoot the doe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He drew on the doe.
Yeah, I drew, yeah. So
That was 100 yards out. He's like, I think I'm going to draw.
the doe got closer, for sure. She got to about
was
10
right on.
yards. She was all like almost under our tree. But the way we set up is we had like no shooting windows. We were in a bunch of like thick saplings and stuff with like branches just going everywhere. And then I had a clear shot, but they had to clear our tree to get to that spot.
Like, setting up on that, it's one of those spots that you would never have set up, other than the fact that there was a really good scrape right there that had been dug up at least that night before. So setting up where we did on that open, I mean, we're talking like a very narrow shooting window, but they're more than likely going to come into that shooting window and stop because of the scrape. You know, and more than likely it's going to be a nice buck that comes in there, right?
And we
I
had,
wonder if it
and we
was
had
like-
really good wind, like strong wind. It wasn't swirling ever, like nothing. It was strong, pushing it down the hill behind us.
Yeah.
So we were like
the other end of the saddle.
the other end, yeah. So we were like, oh, we're good. Like
Yeah.
they can come through here, and they're not going to pick
we
us
had good
up.
back cover. We had
Like-
the sun to our backs.
And you guys said that after watching that buck walk off, you think he walked out to the next like finger ridge that kind of came out and bedded on it, right?
Yeah, more than likely.
That's what we think.
So I'm curious if since he's bedding there, like he probably, when he got out of his bed, either last night or sometime this morning or what? Yeah, probably last night. He probably hit that scrape.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
And then on his way back to bed in the morning,
He was gonna hit
he
it
hit
again.
it again.
yeah. Which is why we set up where we did. But yeah, that doe. You saw the doe first, right?
Yeah.
So I was able to get turned around this time because they were coming from behind me, and so I was able to get turned around in my saddle up with my back up against a tree on this one, and then I was able to get really good video of her. But she was like unbelievably spooky. Like the best. Like if you've ever hunted coos deer, like it was like hunting coos deer, which I swear they can hear your thoughts. I'm almost positive they can hear your thoughts.
Yeah, they can
They must hear you
see
from a
and
mile
hear
away,
you
then.
blink.
Yes, like you can't blink because they'll see it and they will hear it. But that's my like the best thing I can think of is like I come up with is like I felt like I was hunting coos deer out here.
Yeah.
You know that doe like the time when she came in, it was the wind had picked up pretty heavy, so the leaves were rustly, and then she was just every little sound she's jumping around. A couple times she did. It looked like like when fawns are playing out in the field.
Yeah.
It's what it looked like. And She
Really?
wasn't a fawn. She wasn't. She was like a 2 or 3 year old doe, and 2.5, 3.5 year old doe, and even like I watched acorns like hit the ground and her jump from them. So she was just unbelievably spooky. And she came in like 10 yards below me. And I couldn't have shot her because we just had so much, tree branches and stuff in our way. So there was no shooting window. I didn't have my bow in my hand anyways. But, and then she was walking up the trail and it looked like she was going to walk right into the shooting window. And then like that, she was just took off. Didn't blow or anything. She just took off and was gone. He drew as soon as she took off.
Yeah, because if she would have turned and took like 3 steps, I had her, but she went around the bush instead of in front of the bush.
Yeah, it was just crazy. Like I've never seen whitetail act like that. It's like last night, right? Those deer we saw in the field. They were just we watched those does for 45 minutes, almost an hour in the field last night, and all of a sudden, like they got spooked and it just took off out of nowhere. And it's the same thing with these. So
Yeah,
And the same experience that we had this evening.
yeah, very much so.
Like, as soon as those deer, the second group of deer took off from us, we were dropping milkweed to make sure they didn't wind us. And our wind is going the complete opposite. Like, our wind was perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're so spooky.
How was your guys' morning?
Will
had
passed
some-
up on a 120-inch deer.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Don't.
No, I was letting you take care of it. You were shooter.
So this morning, Tyler and I decided to go back to the end of the ridge that we think we jumped a buck yesterday morning. It's a pretty decent hike. So we left here with Garrett and Chris around 6 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
We probably went maybe halfway, and then Garrett and Chris peeled off on the 2-track, found their ridge top, the little knoll. That's where they set up shop. And then Tyler and I kept walking to the end of the ridge. Eventually got there. It was light out, and we weren't in the tree ready to go until 8:30. So it took us a while to make it in there. Obviously, trying to be as quiet as you can, but we sat there from 8:30 to 11:15 maybe.
Yeah.
And then before we had gone in, everybody said, hey, we'd meet at this spot at 12 o'clock. So we knew at 11:15 we had to kind of pack up shop, which is what we did. And when we hunted this morning, we didn't see anything.
No.
I don't even think we saw.
You guys had an interaction with something, though.
What do we have an interaction?
Turkeys?
That is
Oh,
true.
Yeah, we did hear some turkeys blow out.
Yep, we
when
did.
were walking in.
Yep.
Which I don't know was from us or not. They were like, basically, the 2-track was coming down, and then there was a ridge next to us, and they were on the back side. Unless
Yeah.
they had heard us and
Yeah.
saw us or something, and then they,
Yeah.
like if they were on, I don't know, but they took off and they flew.
Yeah.
they might have just been pitching down off that
honest-
ridge. too.
honestly, actually, I
Could've
didn't even
been.
think about that. It could have been, yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely could have been. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
We'll mark that spot though for spring
Because
time.
that's, they
April.
did like that fly down
Yeah.
cackle.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could have been.
So yeah, then we rendezvoused, kind of talked about what our plans were going to be. We backed out. We figured it was best we were just going to give that spot the afternoon, and tomorrow morning we've got to peel out of here. But tomorrow mid-afternoon we have to peel out of here. So in the morning we're all going to go up there.
One
You guys
last
are going to
try.
the same spot.
Yeah.
We're going to go out where that 2-track split
Yep.
and go out that finger ridge and try and find a spot.
Yeah. Because I think he's not running just the finger that we were on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's running all of those fingers. Like I would even guess that he could be the buck that you guys jumped yesterday
Yeah.
morning.
It's a mile from where we were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a possibility.
And it's the same.
It's the same
Ridge,
main ridge.
yeah.
It's just all these fingers coming off of it, right? And he could be betting on the different fingers based on wind, based on, I mean, who knows how
Pressure.
what pressure, where he went that night. You know, like
I mean, if we bumped him out a mile on the other end of that main ridge, I mean, you guys saw him at the complete other end.
yeah,
Who knows? He could have been like, I'm going to stay away from there for a couple days, and
yeah.
who knows? I mean,
Or it
very
could
well
be-
could have been a different deer.
It could have been another big buck,
You know,
or another
definitely.
buck. But I do think though that there's a possibility that he's hitting multiple fingers in that
Definitely.
area. So, and like I said, I think when we bumped him, I think he just went to the next finger and bedded down over there instead.
What a jerk.
Good possibility that happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think tomorrow we're gonna slip in there and we'll see how the morning plays out.
Yeah. That ridge is the only place where we know of at least one buck.
Yeah.
And then we think another.
Yeah.
So.
And there's a doe.
And there's a
And
doe.
one doe.
A lone doe.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm
And if
pretty
there's-
excited. So.
And if there's one buck opening up scrapes, there's got to be.
There's more than
Yeah.
There's more than one.
Oh yeah, definitely. All the way up there, the timber.
We had a pretty good.
So good up there.
We had a pretty good time this morning though, or this evening though.
Yeah, we had a good time.
I mean, because we repeated yesterday in a way, because Will and I had hunted that field, and we had come back here after this morning's hunt and kind of game planned it for a long while. I mean, we were planning, D-Day, pretty much. And
Yeah, you guys had sandboxes drawn out in the soil
Yeah.
for us.
yeah, we had big long sticks pushing and the deer are gonna come in from this way, and then we're gonna envelop them from the other side. Yeah, that's what it felt like. But we did decide on a plan. But so Will and Chris, they headed up the way that Will and I had gone last night to where we'd seen all that sign up on the hillside. Push a little deeper, but kind of what we had thought was. We're seeing them deer pop out in the evenings in that field. Well, let's get to where are they coming from, traveling through to get to that field.
To catch them an hour earlier.
Yeah, catch them
intercept
an
them.
hour, 2 hours earlier. And so Tyler and I, we just pulled off on the side of the road and just a little turn off, 300 yards from the edge of the field,
Yeah.
and then just jumped into the tree line there, and we zigzagged our way back and forth a little bit, kind of just checking it out.
Checking for some sign and different
And we
things.
found decent sign.
Yeah.
But once we got all the way back against the base of that ridge line where it goes up, and we walked down, we started seeing sign. We had an emergency we had to stop for, so it allowed Tyler to do some other looking
Yeah.
around. While,
Chris or Garrett was doing his little side mission
yeah, that was one
while I
secret.
did a little bit of
secret
recon
spy
on the
mission.
head. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Set
reconned about the next 100
Yeah.
yards.
I had to
or
set
so.
conditions.
Yeah.
So after
Almost had to call the medic there for a minute.
yeah, it was almost man down.
Yeah.
It was almost man
You
down.
don't want a negligent discharge.
Which we got lucky.
Oh,
Well,
we almost had a negligent discharge.
yeah, we got lucky too because our comms were down.
Because someone
The comms were down.
did not unload show clear prior to stepping off the range. Yeah. But anyway, we got
It was a
in
big
there.
cluster.
Yeah. I don't want to talk about it.
All right.
I think I might need to see counseling after what occurred. But a little tear in my eye. But we found that spot there. It was like a little dry creek bed, and then we had all this a flat that went all along the base of that ridge there, and it came down to where we had looked at on the e-scouting, where this big drainage comes down off of another saddle, which was basically where he and I were last night and dove down through some crazy stuff, and we saw an anaconda that was eating a crocodile, and insert picture here, and we walked down. It was horrible. The next saddle down, the next drainage that comes down, the draw that came down, we set up just shy of that, and towards the field side of it, and it was just nothing but tracks and browse.
Yeah, there was a nice trail that paralleled the bottom of the ridgeline.
Yep.
We got a nice open pocket, so we had good shooting windows.
Yep.
And the mouth of that drainage was probably 70 yards.
Yeah, 70-ish.
60-ish, something like that, yards wide. It was a lot bigger than typically what we've been seeing.
Yeah, it was nice, and it was nice. The slope coming down into where we were into the flat was a pretty good little. I mean, I wouldn't have walked up it.
Yeah, it was almost set up there was two finger ridges that they came down to meet. Yeah, I don't know.
Where we were. Yeah. So it was nice, and you could see it. It was open.
Yeah.
All on that side, that hillside. So you could see pretty
Deer
good,
coming and stuff,
deer
yeah.
coming down, and you could see if they came out of the actual draw into the flat, you could see that area too. And then we had good fields of view for the coming across that creek bed.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, what was that? Just a little bit before, yeah, like 625 ish, maybe 626.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or 1426.
That would be
18.
1826.
Sorry, I'm still working on that.
Yeah, we'll get you there. They came. We had 3 does that we heard them coming.
Yeah.
They came running from behind us and went across the dry creek bed right where we went across, and then right up the hill. I don't think it was us. We talked about it.
No, I just
They didn't
don't
smell us. We
think-
had good wind, and I think they just something.
They were just doing their little trot. Like we saw them. Basically, we heard them at the creek bed.
Yeah, they're
And
just
then-
doing deer stuff.
Yeah. As were we.
Well, and we were trying to do deer stuff.
Yeah.
and
we
then
had the grunt tubes going the whole
we did.
time.
Brooke got the terminal game call grunt tube and.
Yeah. But yeah, they came out of the creek and they were like just trotting up, and then they basically side hilled up. I don't even think they looked at us.
I think we figured out what they were doing though. They were in the assault.
Yeah.
And they were going after the enemy up on the ridgeline,
Yeah, those deer actually were.
That was us.
which was them.
Yeah,
And they came out and they made a racket.
yeah. We didn't realize we were only less than 300 yards apart, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
they were flanking you guys, is what they were doing.
Was Chris a little worried?
Oh,
Little.
No. Yeah.
Little.
Were you guys prepared for the flanking maneuver that they
absolutely
that
not.
they did on you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Caught you off guard.
No,
Yep.
yeah. Yeah.
So sleep on post, huh, Chris?
I was not asleep.
You were playing Candy Crush, weren't you?
Not at that time.
With the time before.
The deer
So-
that they didn't see.
Yeah. So,
No.
Will, what happened? They came up by you.
Yeah, so Chris and I ended up picking out a spot where it was almost like a T intersection of a finger with a ridge. And we kind of did that because we could see a lot, and we were thinking if Garrett and Tyler are down below us, it's going to be hard for deer to cross that finger, or at least head towards that field without getting seen by one of us. So we ended up not seeing anything for probably the first 3 hours, and then out of the blue, 2 deer kind of made their way towards us. We couldn't see it because it was thick brush, but we could hear them a little bit. And eventually they got to like 40 or 50 yards, and we saw them. And as soon as we started to kind of get in position to start filming them, well, I don't know how, but the one in the front, I guess, picked us right off, and immediately they were gone.
Yeah. She blew and just bounced.
And that's what ended up happening to us like
And, like,
20 minutes later. So behind Tyler now, coming across again, coming from the road towards the base of the ridge line there, came across the creek bed, and they were probably between 30 and
Do you
40
think
yards.
they crossed the creek bed, or they were paralleling the bottom of that?
No, they came from the creek bed.
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Came from the creek bed like towards the mouth,
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
and then they hit the trail and then started coming.
And they would have came right up that trail. However, they
But that same thing with the lead doe, I watched her. I was getting ready, so she was getting ready to step out of cover in front of a tree that I had at 25 yards, and I was getting ready to draw, and I look to see where she's at. I'm getting ready to draw, and I just see her look up, and she's looking straight at our tree.
yeah.
And so I don't know if like the motion of me like kind of setting myself to get ready to draw, or like the little motion of him like moving the camera, like, which would be just mind-boggling that they would pick that off.
I know.
Because it was low. Like at that point, it was 6:45,
Yeah. Low light.
18:45.
Lowish light. Yeah. It's 14:25.
Yeah. But I mean, it was pretty low light, and we had a really good backdrop there too.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the tree we were in like wasn't like covered up
Yeah.
necessarily.
We were talking about like depth perception of like the deer, like if that's possible, they like we were.
They're like those 2 lumps on that tree. Like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it doesn't
We
have
had
cancer.
plenty of backdrop, but it was behind us like
Yeah.
20 yards probably.
So I don't know, but she just like whatever, because again the wind was perfect,
Yeah.
and she just like she's literally just moseying along on that trail, getting ready to step out and get schwacked, and her spidey senses went off and looked up and took off. Didn't blow, but took off. And there was one behind it. There might have been a third one in there somewhere.
Yeah, we're not sure.
I'm not 100% sure. I saw the one in the...
But the second one was just like,
yeah.
didn't care at first.
Yeah, it stood there forever.
Yeah.
And all I could see was its tail.
Yeah.
In the back. I could see its like back legs and the tail, but I couldn't see anything else. I mean, if she had been a little bit farther back, I could have got a shot on her because that was no more than 40 yards.
No, it was probably only like 35.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I could have got a shot because she was broadside.
Yeah.
But, and then, so they took off, and then we're sitting there. I'm still hooked up because
we didn't know what was going to happen.
What was going on because we thought maybe there was a couple more deer there.
Yeah.
And then maybe 5-10 minutes later, we hear more crashing on the other side of the creek bed in the brush there.
Yeah, which we thought was more deer coming, which could have been.
And as soon as I said, "Hey, there's deer there," I can't see them, but I hear them.
Yeah.
Doing silent.
And there's no way it was a squirrel because it was like the squirrel's like.
No,
then there's nothing. Like this was
definitely a deer or more.
A deer jumping around for like a minute.
Yeah, and we're
like, here we go, we'll get set up, and then it was like nothing.
And like when we saw those first ones, the three that ran up the hill, we thought for sure we heard something, not where they came from, but down along
closer towards the field.
Closer towards the field, and so we don't know if there was something there that spooked them and they ran up, but we never heard it again. We heard a bunch of deer all around that 30-minute time between when we first saw the first ones and at 7 o'clock. But then nothing after that, and it got dark quick.
Yeah, it got dark really quick.
Yeah,
kind of hung around at like that gloomy dusk for a while, and then it was just like dark.
Yeah.
Which we kind of expected was going to happen.
We even talked about it before we got out of the stand.
Yeah, we had a debrief.
We did.
And an after-action review.
Well, this is the after-action review.
That's true. This is the secondary after-action review.
Yeah. We kind of had a hasty review after action.
The primary one already happened.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we were definitely in the thick of it. We didn't have any casualties. And, but yeah, that area had tons of browse, which we were surprised about.
Yeah, it was really browsed down.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't so much like the tree branches. It was just all the kind of how we saw it that first day. It was like that.
Yeah.
And there were tracks everywhere. That was the difference. Is like in there you had the leaf litter and like soft soil in there because it's pretty dark in there a lot. Because the afternoon sun's on the other side of that ridge.
Yeah.
So it's that moist soil, but you could see like the
hoof
prints down into like the leaves and stuff, and we found some in the some of the muddy, moist spots on the creek bed.
Yep,
we saw some in there, some big tracks too. So I mean, they were definitely running there, and they did. Yeah. Like we were getting a little bummed out, like we've been sitting here for 3 hours, and where are the deer?
Yeah, we figured that they were just gonna be moseying around in there and then making their way out.
And then all of a sudden, we saw a deer doing exactly what we thought they would be doing.
Just a little bit later.
And, the first group was more interested in you guys.
Yeah.
And then that second, we got busted on the last group.
So, but that was the story. So, I guess if you guys don't have anything else, we can wrap this one up. We got to go to bed. We're going to be up a little bit earlier. So,
real quick, where can everybody find you guys?
Old Breed Outdoors on all social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and oldbreedoutdoors.com. Check out our content on there, and YouTube, Old Breed Outdoors.
Nice, easy.
Perfect.
Anything else?
I'm ready to kill that buck tomorrow.
I hope you do.
I hope Chris has been excited all day.
Is Chris shooting tomorrow or is Garrett shooting tomorrow?
Chris can shoot in the morning.
Ooh.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll wait in the evening. I'll shoot the does in the evening.
Oh, okay.
I like the ladies. He can have the men.
All right, guys.
Nothing wrong with
I
that.
like the big boys.
They're a little tender. I'm not into that rough and tough.
Oh, I gotcha.
Okay.
So, all right. With that being said, we're gonna close this one out. We thank you guys for watching and or listening, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks. See ya.